So I was nervous before, and I'm a bit nervous now. So. Yeah, thank you. So, as web is growing in both complexity and size, more core web systems systems are actually web. So, the more core business in the web. So, I think that age of a simple content management system, age of simple web shops is for most of us behind us. Does anybody remember the good old days where we had an index PHP with templates, MySQL query, the if, and everything? Yeah, I still do. Thank you for the confession, James. So, we used to call it spaghetti. And for lots of old school devs, which I belong to, the generation that started working in PHP somewhere in the end of the 90s, we for years thought this is good enough. And actually for 84% of web, it's still good. I think that everybody can guess the percent, where does the percentage come from. So at some time we started talking and doing frameworks, that would be MVC, we started doing CRUD. But as things got more and more complex, we really had to find some new practices. For me personally, sometimes putting a new feature feels like trying to put an elephant in a really small hole. And let's all watch it feels like that. Okay, a few hands. I really got tired of trying to explain to my colleagues, my teammates, my business people, my clients, my whatever, that I have no idea why something happened, why there was a bug. Oh, I might find a bug, but I don't know what was some of the reason how it came there. And even after grabbing blogs for hours, I would usually find out that, well, we don't have logging everywhere. Or I had to join 5 tables to get the list of most popular articles, user tickets, products, whatever you work on. So why don't we, instead of looking for data, why don't we create it? So logging, as the idea, is really nice. You had the talk in the last slot about the AOP principle. But let's think about it a bit differently. Why don't we build state from changes? So instead of logging changes, let's create a state from it. Why don't we create data sources for our needs? For each purpose, specifically. And by doing that, we can actually separate the business complexity and the scalability of the system. Some of you might have been to my talk on the meetup a month ago. So let's say that we're working on yet another issue tracker. And this is a state of one issue. Can anybody here tell me how can it happen that we have an urgent issue that's open and nobody's assigned? And any ideas? Anybody? Could be. Actually could be. So let's look at some logs. So we know that the issue was opened somewhere in 2016. That it was closed somewhere in 2016 and then reopened again. But we're missing data. What happened? Why? So let's add logging when? More logging. Let's add more logging. Who likes to log? Really? Really? I hate. I must confess I'm lazy about logging. So why don't we just record all the changes like this, in this right here? So we know that the issue was created with some title, some text, it was a bug with normal priority. Then we know that somebody was assigned to it. Then we know that the priority changed. Somebody changed actually the title from something to something that we can understand what the issue is. Issue was actually closed, and issue was reopened today, in the morning, as you can see. Well, if you can call 11 in the morning. So, what if we create the state of that first table by applying all of these changes? This is the whole idea of event source. Literally, that's it. So if we take an issue, then there, in this little box, we're going to keep all of the business logic. Everything about the issue. But somehow we need to read it. Why don't we create special reads for each purpose? For instance, whenever somebody opens an issue, increment the counter for today. Or if you're replaying the events for that day. So you can always know which day, how many issues were open. Maybe if we want to have a list of open urgent issues that somebody has to take care of. Whenever you open a critical issue, an urgent issue, just put an ID in a special table. If an opened issue changes priority to urgent, let's just put the ID. If somebody closes it, just remove the ID. No need to select through the issue table looking for where this, where that, left and right. Or we can create a special reader that tells us the number of issues reopened this month. Or even better, let's say that on the home page, we want to have a list of open issues with number of comments there. Just create a small table. This is the issue ID, this is the title, this is the number of comments. How easy do you think would be to calculate this in your app with CRUD, group by this thing? Would it be really performant? And this is the idea of the command and query responsibility segregation. So the idea is that we write to a domain object. From events, we create the read side, and in our application, we only use that read side. So my name is Miro Svrtan. I work as a senior developer at Ticketswap. As announced, I'm one of the PHP user group organizers in Zagreb. And on Twitter, you can find me with this handle. So, let's go through some of my experiences with event sourcing and CQRS. By far, I'm not an expert. I just wanted to share my experiences from about 15 months of doing event sourcing and CQRS. So, the first example, or one of the applications, was we import some external concerts information in Ticketswap from other sources. So the app already exists, and we just added that small part as an event source in CQRS. This is one of the most common questions that I got asked is, can we use event sourcing in our apps? Yes. In your current apps, you can. It's complementary to your app. You don't have to go full event sourcing and CQRS. So the parts here are that it imports some external data, and also there's a small admin flow of matching it to our own concerts. Second project that I'm going to pull some examples from was a project exit. The name and what it does is not really important. So version 1 had a lot of issues. I had to explain to a colleague of mine that it does a lot of parsing. And like, there were 2 emails per week with, it says 7 there, but it says 5 in our system. I was really tired of it, and I decided to go full event sourcing in CQRS. So literally, I just built the whole app from start, the internal tool. But also I used it as a test ground to see what to use event sourcing and CQRS for. I was very well aware for some of the things that I built using event sourcing that it's a bad idea. But I really wanted to push boundaries and to know from experience where it makes sense and where it doesn't. And the third project is a dev board. It's just my pet project. I want a small dashboard telling me which of my pull requests are open, are they broken, are there any CIs saying, hey, you need to fix something. It's just tracking GitHub issues, PRs, and in version 1 I had a lot of existence issues. Version 2 is going full event sourcing and CQRS. I'm working on it from time to time. I don't have that much spare time. So probably some of you are wondering what's an existence issue. When I get some data from a GitHub webhook, I have to check, does that branch already exist in the system? If not, create it. Does that commit already exist in the system? If not, create it. Same thing for an author. But when you look a bit further, the branch needs a last commit. The commit needs an author, so actually that list goes the other way around. So just to try to explain to you, the first version was, this is the branch table, everything about the branch. These are the commits, these are the authors. They have relationships, because the same commit can be on multiple branches. Same author can do multiple commits. But after rethinking it a bit, at looking into the domain, I actually figured out that in my case, in my domain, that commit is just a value object. It's not an entity. I really don't care about the commit. Author, the same. So what's the small difference here? Why do I treat it as a value object? Now I'm going to give you this 10 euros or this 10 euros. You care which one? Anybody? Okay, but then that's 20 euros. So I don't have any kind of relationship between a branch and a commit and an author. I don't care how it looks in the database. I don't care how many commits an author did. So now I have a special commit table that just has relevant branch data, relevant commit data, relevant author data. And some of you are now going, oh my God, that's against the third normal form. Yeah, it is. But I really don't care. As long as I was doing it the correct way, I thought everything has to be the third normal form. There are relationships. There is this, there is that. Again, commit is just 10 euros. The author is just 10 euros. I don't care. There's no relationship. For me, the biggest change was that still, if I would be doing this app as a CRUD tomorrow, I would still do it as entities and relationships. It's just a way of thinking that all of us, well, at least me, think of there's an entity that has a relationship like that. So one of the hardest things I found was how to define the bounded context. Well, my projects don't have domain experts. Very often, they are the domain. I'm not representing something that exists in real life or supports some business product. Separation is very hard. So, ticket swap is just a place where you can buy or sell tickets. So you have the U2 ticket that you can't go to a concert, you just want to sell it. Or you see a U2 ticket and you want to buy because the concert is sold out. So the user can be a user, but also can be a buyer, can be a seller, or can just wonder what information we have, what are the cool new concerts or whatever. So, what are the bounded contexts here? User, buyer, seller? I really don't know. in a boring domain, and the boring domain I call it enterprise. Now, others call it enterprise, right? The domain experts will tell you what are the boundaries. Let's say that we have a small example of you want to buy a computer, you work in a company, you want to buy a computer. You put some kind of a request to supply, office manager says, okay, supply your order. Your paycheck is calculated by HR, human resources. So you talk to your team lead, you ask for more money, they say yes or no. If so, hire does the magic. But both of them will be paid out to vendors, or you, the accounting. And at the end, the CEO will get some kind of financial report from financial. So you already see the separation of 4 different budget contexts. Or if you're in a startup, you do Airbnb for bicycles. Well, actually startups don't know what they want, or what the plan is, or where they're going to be tomorrow, and of course they want everything yesterday. Try to concentrate on bringing value, not perfect code. For startups, event sourcing and CQRS is better. Why? Because it doesn't support fast changing of your business. It's supposed to be used by concrete businesses that know what they're doing. You can, in a startup, do event sourcing and CQRS on some small parts, like payments maybe. If you're sure that you're not going to start accepting some weird things or subscriptions or whatever and change your whole payment strategy. So actually, for the ticket swap example, I don't plan on doing it anytime soon. Why? Because the boundaries are really unclear. For now, it's too core into the app to just change it because we can change it. I don't know the future direction, and the whole team doesn't know what's coming in the next 6 months or a year about it. And actually, existing code looks okay, it works pretty okay. So I did this talk last week. I was pretty sure that it's going to bite me in the ass this week, and it did. So I already have missed some info from this. I was already a bit sorry because I had to look through logs for 15 minutes to find out why something hasn't been done right. Okay, let's talk a bit about domain application infrastructure separation. So, who here knows anything about DDD? Okay, so I can run through it. So, what most of us, and me as well, we have a new project. Hey, I'm going to use Symfony 2, save it in my SQL, and use Nginx and build DigitalOcean or AWS or something. Not even thinking about what the project is. So I would start with designing the ER model. I'd spend about 80% of the time and 20% of the problem. I would try to make our problem fit the solution. Actually design a house of cards from time to time, not always. And then I would be implementing the business logic and the rules at the end. So let's say that we are building a website to play poker. First I would say, well, it's going to be in Symfony, Nginx, and something. And then 10 days before the project has to go out, I would say, yeah, you can't play Jack of Hearts twice. Does that make sense? You implement the business rules at the end. So about what do I mean when I said try to fit the problem into our solution? How many of you are saving an invoice in the relational database or have done? Okay. How many of you have the relationship between an invoice and the person or a company that's that it belongs to. Oh my God. Why? So actually, you're breaking the law. Because if the company changes the address, and somebody asks you for a 5-year-old invoice, you're going to print it to the new address, breaking the law. There's no relationship between an invoice and the company. It's a document. But we always save it as a relation, which is really, really bad idea. What if a person changed the last name? So invoice was bought by Jane Smith, but now it's Jane something. When MongoDB became very popular, a lot of people came with the idea, well, the blog post entity has to be one record in MongoDB, because it supports sub-entities. But what happens if we change the last name or the first name or the username or the person that left a comment? Actually, comments are related to the blog post, but also comments are related to user. So it means that if a person changes the name, the username, something, you have to run through all blog posts, find the comments and update them. Does that make sense? In this case, this is a relation. This is not a document. So this is the issue of trying to fit the problem into our solution. Why don't we try to think about, first, let's solve the problem. Let's find the application usages. What data do we need in the application? And then just store the data. Let's invert the idea. Okay, so in event sourcing, there's this thing called the Saga Word Process Manager. Anybody knows what it is? Okay, a few hands. So the idea is that it connects multiple bounded contexts, the aggregates. I'll get to an example. What happens if the third link fails? There's an error, something. So let's take an example. Let's say that we do have those three aggregates that I mentioned 5 minutes ago. We decided to build them as aggregates. So every time the user registers, we listen for the user registered event, the buyer saga. We send the command to create the buyer. And the same thing for seller. So we do it synchronously. What happens if there's an error with, let's say, create buyer command? We have the user, we don't have the buyer, and we don't have the seller. So our aggregates are consistent, but our application is not. One possible solution is to queue the commands. So that always you can replay them if there's an issue. And they are really your best friend, but also your worst enemy. So queues, they will give you isolation. Anybody using any kind of queuing? Wow, okay, they have to expect that. So, how we usually use queues is we have one kind of payload and we create a tube, or a room, whatever, for each of them. But with command handlers, we can actually put all of the commands into the same one. If our application starts to grow, we can add multiple queues, we can add multiple workers. But be very aware that if you're trying to update, trying to change the same aggregate with 2 workers, you're going to get errors. Because event sourcing doesn't have locks in it. So you're trying to change the same thing at the same time. One will pass, the second will error up. So if you are sure there are no concurrency issues, put 10 workers there. Give it some speed. So just to try to give you an example of what I think. So in Ticket Swap, that each external concert, when I import them, I'm 100% sure that it's unique. So I never have to worry about concurrency there. I can have 50 workers. But on the other project, when I'm getting GitHub webhooks, for instance, if I would be listening for Symfony framework or Laravel or some popular framework, I would be getting a lot of hooks at the same time. I have to serialize them in sense of not running them in parallel. So for instance, what I had to do was put one worker per queue, sorry, and then do some queue sharding. So Symfony goes to the queue with the SMA. And this way I got a lot of performance done. But the queues also bring eventual consistency. So workers are async. Queues can be clogged. Never blindly trust your read model data. Always treat aggregates as the only source of truth. Why? Let's say that you're a bank. You have 100 euros on your account. There is a transaction of 70 euros that was done, but there's another one incoming with another 50 euros. By the time that you check for the second one, the read side might not be updated because it's somewhere in the queue. So you should always use only aggregates as the only source of truth. I had quite many bugs because of this. I really didn't think about it. I thought usually it would take like milliseconds until it didn't. So let's talk about performance. So, loading events is actually quite fast. So actually it's blazing fast. Just get them from the event store. Now, serializing is pretty fast. Line is fast. So if your aggregate root has something like 10 events, it's going to take less than 10 milliseconds to load. So it's pretty fast. You don't have to worry that much. As the events keep piling up, it can take maybe a few seconds. For most of the projects, 100 events is a lot per one aggregate. Probably your user doesn't have more than 100 changes in their lifetime. But I wanted to try a big aggregate rule. I was trying to force it out. So it had 700 entities inside and 580,000 events. It was really slow. That's actually where I got some of the numbers from. And after having only a few thousand events, it just wasn't a viable solution to just load events all the time. So what I had to use is snapshot. The idea is to avoid replaying all of them. At one point, just take the whole aggregate and just save the state somewhere. The next time that you're loading it, you load the snapshot and all the events that came afterwards. So you still have all the events stored, and you can just skip first few 100,000 million. I had to do it myself. The Broadway, the framework that I'm using for event sourcing, doesn't support it. If you go with group, it doesn't have support. So I didn't really do it yourself. Just a simple SQL table with an auto increment ID, aggregate the event number, and literally payload is called the serialized message from the object. Just save that correctly. So if you could create a snapshot of about every 200 events, but each row was about 17 megabytes of data, which when you have 1,000 snapshots is about 17 gigabytes. I still don't care. So for that project, I really don't care. I didn't even implement, hey, let's keep only last 5 snapshots. I come from a week, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, just delete the older ones. But I have my aggregate load time under 100 milliseconds for something that has 580,000 events. It has 700 entities inside. Just think how much time would take your Laravel or the tree to load something that has 700 entities related. But also be warned, I had a small bug, so I changed something in the aggregate, and I had to delete all the snapshots. Because any kind of change in aggregate, you have to delete all the snapshots, because the internal state changes. And for bigger ones, you might even have to replay them manually. Because if I try to load 580,000 events by myself, it's going to die. If I had to do it on that big aggregate, I would do it like every 10,000 manually. Try to keep your read side without any kind of logic. It should be anemic model. Other people say, oh, anemic models suck. But for read models, they are anemic models. Putting any kind of logic there is actually design smell. So let's take a small example. Let's say that you have an event with some kind of price without the VAT and because you calculate it. But then in your application, you have to show the VAT amount and percentage. What are you going to do? Calculate it. It's wrong. Because 97 and 122 does not represent 25%. I had few bugs on trying to recalculate some data. Try to actually update those domain events and say, hey, let's have the price without the VAT, price with the VAT, have VAT percentage. Let's update the events, let's fix those things. And that can be really hard. I have to warn you, changing events can be really, really hard. But that also pointed me that some of my design decisions of the web parts, or the main parts, were wrong. I was actually missing some of the crucial points there. Who here does write tests? Like, you don't have to be like sorry all the way. Well, for the rest of you, I'm really sorry. I don't suggest using event sources with CQRS. When you get the whole event-driven architecture in there, trying to locate the bugs, trying to find out what's happening there without testing is almost impossible. If you're used to using unit tests, you have to get into totally different mindset that for unit testing, you're not going to check the state. You're going to say, hey, this was my previous state, and I expect when I do this, these events to come out. You're not going to check the properties of the aggregates anymore. It's more of black box. When I put this in, I expect this out. That was a pretty big change in how I test. Try to concentrate on the unit and integration testing, and try to avoid the end-to-end tests. I'll have an example. So try to mock actually the infrastructure. So instead of using MySQL or something, create a small in-memory repository. It's going to speed up your development. It's not going to lock you while you're developing into using some kind of data storage. And it's going to make your tests 10 to 100 times faster. So in ticket swap, we had to refactor the read side because we decided, well, we don't need the old Elasticsearch, we're moving to the new one. Unfortunately, I used Elasticsearch for storing reads, which wasn't real bad idea. And we had I had lots of issues there. So I had to write a lot of end-to-end tests. So what we actually did was, our plan was to drop the whole cluster. So I just did refactor the reads. I had all the events there. I just needed 2 new sets of read models, delete the old ones. It took me half a day's work. But updating tests took 2 days. Because I was so uncomfortable with using Elasticsearch that I had to test a lot. I actually checked the project about 4 times more lines of code for testing than the code. So, as I already said, we had all the events stored. We just replayed all the events. It was just a 30-line PHP CLI script for replaying and recreating those new read models. For 16,000 events, it took 1 minute to get over. And we just turned off the Elasticsearch. So we didn't lose any data. We just migrated in 2.5 days from using the Elasticsearch back to MySQL, which we are more comfortable with. Well, at least me. UIDs, anybody using them? Wow. Okay, I didn't expect that. So, instead of expecting database, commands and aggregates actually expect you to provide the ID. So you can't rely on the auto-increment of MySQL, Postgres, Mongo, or whatever. I would suggest using Ramsey's UID library for PHP. But this also has some performance issues. So instead of writing just a simple 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, your primary keys are becoming a 32 character long string or 16 binaries. But then you have to be aware that your MySQL clients, Postgres clients, and other clients are not going to like the whole blow thing there. But they're not continuous. So they don't go 1 to 3, which means that the binary tree is going to be rebalanced every time you insert something in. And you need to add some kind of creative add property called, because you can't sort by ID anymore. They're just random strings. But I started really appreciating the whole UID, so I actually am now using it even in the CRUD apps. Because it helps me avoid problems with pieces of code that might have an ID in some cases and in some others not. So let's take an example of, hey, let's create a slug for our article. So when you create an article, you put the title, the description, the author, you want to create the slug, then save it. But you need the ID for the slug. You don't have the ID. So you're going to first save it, then you're going to use the ID, then you're going to create the slug, and you're going to save it again. Which is a really nice example, very easy one to do. But there are cases where that's not possible. Try to use familiar technologies. So, event sourcing at CQRS is really big shift in thinking, the way of doing things. If you have experience using MySQL, Postgres, MongoDB, whatever, try to use them as much as you can. Don't try to migrate from MySQL to Mongo or the other way around because, well, it's cool or something. The shift is really, really big, the way of thinking. And by finding out new things to do, you're just going to make your life more uncomfortable. People using event sourcing and CQRS. Have you noticed the class explosion? Number of classes exploding. So, in a CRUD app, you have a user controller, user entity, user repository. But let's see how the CQRS part looks. We still have a user controller, we have the command, we have the handler, we have the echo, we have the event, the projector, the read entity, the repository. But that's only for one change. I want to change the password, we need to add the command and the event. I was really, really scared after a few weeks of development because instead of having usually maybe about 30 classes, I had like 300. But actually they're really, really simple. The commands and the events are just data transfer objects. They have simple getters, no logic. And read entities are simple, just set of getters and settlers. Repository methods are easy. Repository classes are easy. Command handler and projector usually have, when this happens, load something called this method save. So they're really simple. So there's a lot of classes, very, very simple ones. Who's not scared? Okay. Oh, okay. Good hand. I'm going to take an example from the intro. Who feels comfortable with this number of classes? So you raise your hand. But why don't you go back to WordPress and just use one file? But when you're using 3 files, and actually, sorry, 4 files because you have to have a template instead of just one. Anybody can answer?
Separation of concerns.
Okay, separations of concerns is a good one. Any more? What? Okay, that's okay one for this example. Any more?
Use cases.
What?
Use cases. Not just.
Okay. But what about testing? What about debugging? What about figuring out where the problem is? Anybody ever trying to find a problem in a template with if, MySQL, if, echo, table, echo, if? So yes, there is a class exposure, but it's much, much easier to work and find problems. Because you have to look at small changes. The classes, if you're interested in seeing, if you get me after the talk, I can show you. They're simple. They're stupidly simple. To the point that sometimes when I have to write tests, I hate it because they don't make sense. I literally just copy-paste the previous one and change the variable names for most of them. So a small recap. And sourcing is the best thing ever. Any questions?
We have an experience in the integration test. So when you don't want just to test one unit, when you have several events, you put it in a queue, and then you have to attach several, I don't know, business logics, and then you want to test the whole group of things.
Okay, that's actually end-to-end, not integration. Try to avoid it. I never in tests use the actual queue. So I have a in-memory queue that I use. never the real pin stop rescue or something, because then the tests would take days, because for each of them I have to say, well, now sleep for 10 minutes until the queue does it, to be sure that it does it. So if you have ever tried to test in a browser JavaScript, you know the pain of, hey, there's no button. Why is there no button? It's still working. Why is there no button? Broken. So no, never use the actual infrastructure as is in sense of use.
Any tool for that or?
No, be real. Yeah, works well. Anyone else?
Hi, thank you. Is there any kind of circumstance where you would say CQRS event sourcing is not an applicable use case?
Fast-moving applications, fast-moving domains. If you don't know where the application is going to be in 2 months, or you're doing something completely new, don't use it. I mean, I'm trying to explain this in the sense of, let's build a car. Does anybody here know how to build a car? Okay, one hand more than I expected. Don't use event sourcing for that, because I don't have an idea what makes a car a car. I mean, I know it has a motor, a wheel, some seats, the doors, the mirrors, but that's about everything I know about the car. So if you're not sure what you're doing, don't go event sourcing. Any more questions?
Hi, I have a question about library security starting again today. Will you again choose Broadway or maybe look into something else like Google?
Okay, thank you. So this is something that I skipped again. So there are two very popular ones. Broadway and Proof. I would recommend both of them. As I'm used to Broadway, I would use Broadway. I don't feel that Broadway is any better or worse than Proof. For some people, Proof might be too modern, because the last release was PHP 7.1 only. So if you're running PHP 5.6, you might have to be running a 2-year-old version of it that they might not be supporting anymore. So just try to look into it if you're going to improve. Broadway is more backwards compatible. I mean, in the sense of 5, 4, up to 7 months.
Would you consider not using the framework at all?
No, I wouldn't try to build my own. I might copy paste some of the code from them and then just try to build my own, but not reinventing it from the start. It's really good. Both of them are really good. People much smarter than me, but those people use it in production. So it is good. No more questions? Everybody just waiting for beers? I'm not going to stop talking. Oh, another question.
Okay, so you mentioned adding event sourcing to an existing app, but do you ever build an app with just event sourcing, or do you also mean in our RDBMS relational database?
Well, for event sourcing, I actually use MySQL. Actually, my events are stored in MySQL. Most of my reads are stored in MySQL, but I'm not thinking of it as a relational database. I'm just thinking of it as a storage. I could probably easily switch it to Redis or something, and I wouldn't see that much changes.
But is maybe Mongo better fit for something like that? Like documents?
For documents, yeah. But if you have a document, use Mongo for that. Here, this is not really documents. I mean, you might think of events as documents. That's, I don't know, this works good enough. I never tried doing it. But it would probably take me a weekend to create event store for Mongo and try it out. So if you're interested and at some point want to try it out, just go. It's not that hard. Actually, the code in the frameworks is really simple. Actually, the whole idea is pretty simple to use, but really, really hard to explain. That's one of the hardest things for this talk, is that I feel it's easier for me to teach by showing you, and hey, let's sit down for one day and just show you how to use it, than to actually try to explain some of the ideas here without code.
I fully understand why do you say that we should not use event sourcing in fast-changing applications, but what about CQRS? Why do you think that would be a drawback?
Okay, CQRS wouldn't. But CRUD apps are usually not supporting event-driven architecture. So you would first have to make your application event-driven, CRUD plus event-driven, to actually use the CQRS part. It is, again, for the fast-moving companies, probably a waste of time. I mean, if you're trying to invent something, you're not trying to build the best thing ever, you're trying to build a better bike for somebody to try it out, and then you improve it. But that bike might become a car.
Yeah, but I think you might be stuck more in the mud with the CRUD model than if you have a fast-paced environment. Then it's CQRS. Of course, you will need to invest some more time, but perhaps it would be easier for you to change it in fast change.
So I can give you a non-event sourcing CQRS example. So 3 years ago, I was working for a startup, and for whatever decision, they decided to go with Symfony. I really love Symfony, but Symfony was the biggest wrong decision on that project, because we had to really move left, right. You know, like, hey, we don't need this half of the code. Delete. Just bring something. Just do something, let's test it out, let's see if anybody is going to use this. It's going to be crappy code. From time to time, for those things, I've read crappy code. I just want to do a test. Let's see, go. To me, it brings more business value, 100 lines of crappy code, that we're going to start earning 1,000 euros a day, than taking 2 months to build the perfect code that nobody is going to use. Because nobody might use that feature.
Thanks.
Okay, now I need a cigarette, so sorry. If you have any other questions, thank you for such a long applause. Please leave me feedback. I am not the happiest with my performance today, but I would like to hear your opinion. Was it good, was it bad?